Hey everyone, this is Justin Michael. Today I'm going to show you a couple decks I have that are pretty interesting that I haven't really showed before. One of them is not even, actually two of them I'm going to show you are not even tarot decks. This is called a Deste deck, and they make these in Greece and in Turkey only. So you can only get this in those part of the world. It's a fortune-telling scheme, very much like our Lenormand or something like that. I first saw this, I believe Kelly and the Truth and Story had one. And so I got curious and I looked on eBay, and they didn't have many of them. It seems that there's only one that's printed that I could find on eBay. But this is the one I got, and I did get it from Greece. I'm just going to quickly show you. Basically, I don't speak Greek. I have to study this system. I have no idea how it works. I just know there are certain themes. So it's a Deste deck. I'm guessing it's like Destiny, similar to a Destiny deck, but that's just a guess. I don't really know. So this is just what the images look like. So there are some images that have circular objects on them, much like our pips, you know. And then there are a couple with like a faded image of this woman on the front here. I forget what the story is. I did look it up. It's based on a fortune teller who did live in Greece. And so this is Yape, or Yapi. It's a coin with a fish. And it looks like a broom. I have no idea what that one is. There's the moon. So it does have like similar objects to the tarot and to the Lenormand, but I just figured I would show them to you. The cards have a really nice silky kind of feeling to them, and they're small. They're the size of a deck of cards. In fact, all the decks I'm going to show you today are very small. I just figured I would show you this. I don't know where I could even learn this system because it's in Greek, and even if I wanted to, it's going to be a challenge. So I thought I could maybe use it as an oracle. But I see the ship on here is very similar to Lenormand. And there are a lot of cards, so I'm just going to flip through them. The owl probably has to do with wisdom. You know, some of it's self-explanatory. You have a key. Again, like Lenormand. Bird bath. A camel. You have a sun card. I don't know what that is, but it's like rolling hills, a dancing woman, a tree. This looks like a letter, and some knives. This is like a mountainside, and a ring. So some of it's this common symbolism, you know, and you can probably figure out what they mean. Here's a fox. I mean, that clearly means, you know, probably trickery or, you know, slyness. It's an anchor, probably means stability, or like something that keeps you grounded, or you know, the horse. So, you know, that could mean probably, you know, much like the chariot, sort of like movement maybe, or a means of transportation. Well, there's a moving horse, so who knows? Lots of horses here. In all different positions. I don't know if this is like in the Arab tradition, because I do know Greek was a part of the Ottoman Empire for a very long time, and the Christian religion survived there almost underground, and the country is majority Christian. But during those years, you know, they were pretty much driven underground. The Eastern Orthodox. I don't know what kind of background this is, or if any at all. And then here's some more circular objects. Anybody can recommend some resources, in English that I can learn this, or anybody's channel maybe has these cards. I'd love to learn more about this deck. So that is the Deste deck. This is from Greece. I've never showed this before. I figured I would just show something different today. And while we're talking about little countries in Europe, I'm going to show you this Tarocchino Lombardo, which is, I don't believe I showed you this yet. I'm really not 100% sure. If I did, forgive me. I just forgot if I did show this to you. But this is the Tarocco Lombardo, the Tarot of Lombardy, and it's Carlo della Rocca, which he was the artist in 1835. There are several Tarot Lombardis. I originally wanted the 1810 version from Il Meneghello, but I was unable to find them. So it's a really nice little package, and it came from Milan during the whole crisis when it started. And this is actually the hardest hit. Italy was hardest hit out of all the countries so far with COVID-19, and so I was surprised that when it was on pretty much lockdown, this deck got through somehow. But it's numbered. It's got 1801, and it's got this little booklet here, and it just comes in like a nice little package, just like this. It's very thick, but the card quality is very much like museum quality. It's not something that is you're going to be able to shuffle really you won't do a riffle shuffle or whatever with this. It's they're pretty delicate, So these are some court cards, and this, just in point of fact, is almost identical. These are actually, let's get to the majors. These are almost identical to the it's a title card, to the Ancient Italian Tarot. So this is the Ancient Italian Tarot by Lo Scarabeo. The Lo Scarabeo did print a Tarot of Lombardy. I have no idea what happened to it, and I believe it was the 1810 version, which is different. But the Ancient Italian Tarot is pretty much the theme of that is various decks from Italy. Italy is the founding place of tarot, so it's no surprise that they have a lot of decks to, historically it's a significant place as far as tarot. But so the theme of the Ancient Italian Tarot is sort of, it's supposed to be like representation of the Italian tarot decks, but it's almost identical to this deck here, if not identical. It's based on the same artwork. So this is this Il Sollone, is what they call it. Il Sollone Tarot of Lombardy. And different from Il Meneghello. And it's Milan, 1835. Carlo della Rocca is the artist. Now, if you look at the Ancient Italian Tarot, the Emperor is different. It's got a different face. Anyway, it's not. It's based on the same artwork, but it's very different. So I just thought I would show you some of the Ancient Italian Tarots just to kind of give you an idea of where it came from. This image is interesting here. This is the Lover's card. And, in most tarot decks, especially the early French decks, the Tarot de Marseille, they have a young man in between two women, right? But this one seems to be very similar. The image is similar, but you have a boy in between a king and a young lady instead of in the queen and a young lady, and that makes sense, because that's like the first kind of, as I mentioned before, from the book by Sally Nichols, Young in the Tarot. She talks about how this card represents the development of the ego. A young person's ego sort of begins to develop with the Lover's card. and then it goes into the chariot and so forth. And then it goes into the external realities, like, you know, external forces, the realm of the earthly reality, and ego consciousness is what they call it. But it's interesting, you know, it changes it a little bit, you know, the characters. But I'm just going to show you a few of these. There's the Hermit. So, you know, same image, slight variations. You have a different lamp, but otherwise came from the same place. And it's Carlo Della Rocca is the artist. I don't know if he got it from somewhere else, if he copied these images or redrew them from another image or whatever, but it'd be interesting to know. I'm sure there are a lot of people who know a lot about these pip decks. I'm not one of them. I wanted the Ancient Italian Tarot from Il Menichello, but I settled for this because I sort of couldn't find it. And I always like the Ancient Italian Tarot. So, there's the Tower. This one actually is one of my favorite cards in the deck of the Ancient Italian Tarot. Based on the same artwork, but not the same exactly. So the cool thing about this deck is it's numbered. So it's somewhat rare as a collector's piece. And O Mondo, which is the world. And I'm just going to show you some pips. The pips are different. They're not exactly the same as the tarot, Ancient Italian Tarot. They're very similar, though. So you get the idea with the pips. I'll show you some wands here. I'll show you the Ace of Wands. The core cards are the same as the Ancient Italian Tarot, but the pips are just slightly different. Different design. Almost an identical setup, you know, it's like the Marseille setup, but with the coins I noticed there are some differences in the way that objects are arranged. So core cards of the wands. And the swords. I'm going to show you the coins. I sort of skipped over a few just because, you know, you don't have to see every single pip card. And so that's it. I know there are some coins at the bottom here. I showed you at the beginning here. Let's see. These are the coins, court cards. And so that's it. This is the Tarocchino Lombardo, 1835 version, and this is Il Sollone, made in Italy. Also Vito Orienti. I guess he's the artist who redid the drawings. And there's another date on here. I think 1981 was the date. It was, yeah, see, I believe it was redone in 1981. So anyway, it's a pretty nice deck. And I'm going to show you another deck that I have, which is a Marseille deck. And this is the Jean Noblet. And this is done by a guy named Joseph Peterson. And this was actually available on Amazon when I bought it. So I'm going to show you this one. These are just some cool pip decks that I have acquired. So Tarot de Marseille, you know, has that same box, you know, that you always see. And this is published in 2016. Joseph H. Peterson. Reproduction of the 73 original surviving cards, missing 6 to 10 of swords. Carefully reconstructed. So, I'm just going to show you some of these, and we'll end there. This is a really cool deck also. It's very delicate. It has almost like a baseball card quality. It's funny, I mentioned baseball cards to one of my friends from England, and several of my friends actually. And some of them have only heard of them, never seen them. But some people have never even seen them. They don't even know what they are. But they were popular they started in like the 1950s and all through up till present day, actually. Not as common as it used to be. So we got the Fool and the Magician there, kind of backwards. Really nice colors in this. I like this deck. I just don't I don't shuffle them very much, and they are just so delicate. I like to mostly just use them for reference and look at them, appreciate them. There's the Lovers, so you have 2 females there. Sort of like a quintessential love triangle. Here's the Chariot and Justice. There's the Hermit. And the Wheel of Fortune. Strength card. And the Hangman. That is Death, Temperance, Devil, Tower, and the Star, the Moon, Sun. There's Judgment, and Le Monde. Show you some of the pips. Here's the Wands. Let's get them pretty quickly here. Here are the court cards. Like I said, this was available on Amazon last time I checked. It was through a third-party seller, though. I don't know if they'll be available in the UK and Europe, but I'm sure you can get them on eBay or somewhere. It's a beautiful deck. The thing just makes me nervous about these decks is that they have really sharp corners that seem to bend very easily. So if you're tossing these cards around, you will damage them. I guess you could, you know, round the corners if you wanted to, but I would never alter this deck. It's a collector's piece. This isn't really a deck that you would, you know, I guess you could read with them, and I know there are people that are like, you know, all about reading with all of their decks. I'm not one of them. I read with the decks I like to read with, and some of the decks I have just for my own, you know, collection, just to look at them. I will analyze them, and I appreciate them, but I try and keep them in, you know, top-notch shape. I would say most of my decks I would read with, though. I know some people are like, well, you know, what's the point if you don't read with them? But again, I like to collect, you know. And there's the swords. A lot of the colors in this. It's very, you know, it's classic Marseille. Of course, it's Jean Didal, or Jean Noblet, rather. I keep saying Didal. Okay. Hold on a second there. I have two magicians. Interesting. I guess I better look through this deck, huh? Make sure I have everything. Looked like I wasn't missing anything. He maybe threw in an extra magician. I don't know. I don't know what the deal with that is. I'm going to have to make sure all the cards are here. And last but not least, while I was going through some things, I found this deck of cards. And it's not tarot, but I just thought it was kind of a cool thing to show off. So I saw Bob Dylan wrote a new song about the Kennedy assassination, and it's all over Facebook and YouTube. And I just happened to find this deck, which belonged to my late aunt, who pretty much raised me. And these cards date from the early 60s. I know it was like right after the Kennedy assassination, and they're put out by Topps, which is a baseball card manufacturer. Well, these are all President Kennedy. I don't know if that's Kennedy and Pope Paul or Pope John. No, I can't remember who that is. Maybe it's a cardinal. Don't know. It's the Kennedy family. For my British friends, you know, this is like our royal family, kind of. If America had a royal family, the Kennedys would be it. I have some doubles in here, but I just thought I would show you a couple of these. I found them, and they're well older than me. These are date from the probably the early to mid 60s. I think right after the assassination they came out. And there's the inauguration. I believe that's Adlai Stevenson and Kennedy. Everybody liked Jackie O. He's a very handsome guy in his youth, obviously. And a war hero, pilot. The Kennedy family. And with LBJ. Not sure who that is. The condition is not actually bad considering they're older than, you know, older than me. They're from the middle of the last century, so pretty much. They're at least 50 years old. And that's all of them. I don't think it's the complete set. I may have some doubles in there also, but I was like, you know, I'm just going to show them to you guys today. But anyway, hope you found that interesting. If you have any questions or comments, leave them below. And I hope you guys are staying sane and keeping busy in the this whole quarantine thing. So anyway, be well. Talk soon. Bye-bye.